But now we're giving the boxer everything. We're giving him the size, the height, the reach, the experience, the power, the speed, the strength. I mean, everything we're giving to him.
Yeah, huge respect to Jake. I mean, we all know what should happen on paper, but it's boxing. So huge respect to Jake. I have nothing but positive things to say about the guy.
Chael Sonnen sounds the alarm. Jake Paul is walking into a fight where Anthony Joshua holds every weapon, every edge, and every danger. To begin with, Jake Paul expressed his absolute confidence in his ability to defeat Anthony Joshua, emphasizing that he challenges himself against the biggest and best opponents. He views this fight as a step to prove he can achieve the impossible, and he is ready to go to war to win.
Possible. Are you all right, my man? Have you lost your mind? This is Anthony Joshua that you just called out. You're fighting Anthony Joshua in less than a month. Why are you doing this?
I like to challenge myself. I like to take on the biggest, the best. I said anyone, anytime, any place. I truly mean that. And I'm here to go out there and shock the world. I know what I'm capable of. I see him and what he's capable of. And we're going to go to war, and we'll see the best man that will win. But people say, oh, he's out of his mind, all of these things. I've gotten to where I'm at today because of delusional optimism. And so it's delusion until it's not, because look at where we're sitting today.
Next, Anthony Joshua highlights the difference in boxing styles between Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou and his aggressive intent for the upcoming fight. His main focus is not on ending the fight quickly, but on following his plan and making sure he severely hurts Paul during their match.
Ngannou never boxed before either. Jake's boxed before. They're just different. Ngannou's a lot more slower, but a lot bigger and more powerful. Jake's quicker. Jake boxes in a completely different style. Ngannou's more upright. He can does switches southpaw and orthodox. Jake doesn't really do that. They're completely different fighters, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not trying to compare. At the end of the day, it's just what happens at the end of the night. I'm not in there to try and knock Jake out in 10 seconds or...
Following that, a new video serves as a promotional first look at Jake Paul's training camp as he prepares for his upcoming fight against Anthony Joshua. The dedicated nature of his preparation showcases his strict plan and focus ahead of his upcoming fight. Meanwhile, Chael Sonnen summarizes Sean O'Malley's anxiety about the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua match, stating that O'Malley is worried for Paul's well-being. He emphasizes O'Malley's warning that certain blows and defeats are exceptionally damaging, possessing the power to fundamentally alter a fighter's life or physical well-being.
Sugar Sean O'Malley's good friends and even business partners with Jake Paul. And Sean O'Malley is scared for Jake Paul. All right, great. You know what? Thank you, Sean. And now that's now my phrase. I'm going to steal that from you from this moment. I'm going to use it going forward because I didn't know how to describe my feeling about this fight, but I just got it. I'm glad I thought of it right after I read Sean O'Malley said it. Sean went on to say, there's certain punches, there's certain knockouts, there's certain concussions, there's certain weapons, there's certain beatings that are not equal to others. They're the kind of knockouts, of punches, of concussions, of weapons, and of beatings that change your life.
In addition, Sonnen emphasizes that most people maintain a self-image of toughness or weakness without ever actually testing their fighting ability, as real combat is extremely rare. Sonnen thinks that Jake Paul is going to face a very good fighter, and Paul will soon find out his confidence is bigger than his actual skill.
But one thing those two guys have in common is that neither of them actually knows where they stand. Neither of them has actually tested that theory. They got all the rest of society to go along with it. Therefore, they don't have to test the theory. And it is a very rare, I don't know the numbers, but it's like I used to know them, but it's like 0.003 of population will ever actually get in a fight. So if you're the guy that walks around, you got the broad shoulders, and you hold your head up high with your chest buffed out, and everybody treats you like a tough guy. You get to die. You get to go through your entire life and to the grave believing that you were a certain way. And the coward's got to do the same thing. Now the problem, and I think what Sean O'Malley's talking about.
Furthermore, Sonnen predicts that Jake Paul will have a devastating reality check experience against Anthony Joshua. Sonnen argues that success for Jake in this high-risk scenario must be redefined. He states that merely surviving the fight without being knocked out would be a victory for Paul.
Something I knew to be true was no longer true. And Jake Paul, through fear of Sugar Sean O'Malley, is going to have one of those experiences, one of those I didn't think a man could do this to me experiences. And you know what? I see it the same way. I respect the hell out of it. I am on Jake Paul's side. As one of the leading members and voices from Jake Paul's side, prior to this fight, we are going to put a board behind us and we're going to tell you what needs to be done for Jake to win. And I don't mean for Jake to get his hand raised. There's other things that Jake can do, and if he does them, Jake wins. Making the distance by example is a win for Jake. We're gonna break a few of these down.
After that, Sonnen questions why Anthony Joshua accepted the fight, noting that unlike previous high-profile mismatches, Joshua possesses every single advantage in size, power, and experience over Jake Paul. This total lack of advantage for Jake Paul leads Sonnen to conclude that he is scared for Jake Paul.
Word to Sean's feelings. Now, what is Joshua doing taking this fight? It's always been different, right? Like when Floyd Mayweather took the fight against Jake's brother Logan. No one really knew. Logan was 185 pounds and he was going to have to cut to get to that, and he stands about 6'2". Floyd is retired, much older, and nowhere near that size. But now we're giving the boxer everything. We're giving him the size, the height, the reach, the experience, the power, the speed, the strength. I mean, everything we're giving to him. Should he even be taking the fight? And moreover, now that he has, I'm with O'Malley and all that thing. Yes, I respect it for Jake.
Similarly, Andrew Tate discusses the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. He expressed huge respect for Jake Paul for taking on the challenge. Although he concluded that all logic suggests Anthony Joshua will win the match, Tate insisted that the unpredictable nature of boxing means any outcome remains possible.
Just a couple more things before I let you go. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, your thoughts on this fight? And Mega won?
Yeah, huge respect to Jake. I mean, we all know what should happen on paper, but it's boxing. So huge respect to Jake. I have nothing but positive things to say about the guy.
Likewise, Lamont Roach Jr. dismisses Jake Paul's chances of defeating Anthony Joshua, AJ, based on AJ's elite credentials. He believes Jake Paul's chances against Anthony Joshua, AJ, are virtually non-existent, calling it only a puncher's chance that is slimmer than normal. He clearly suggests Paul is outmatched due to Joshua's status and accomplishments.
I'm gonna tell you guys, the only chance Jake Paul has is a puncher's chance. And sad to say, that is slimmer than normal as well. Like, Anthony Joshua is let's just go through the pedigree. Olympic gold medalist at heavyweight.
Right.
At heavyweight. 4-time heavyweight champion, unified heavyweight champion. Man, I'll just leave it at that. I get why. I mean, like, if you're gonna go big, like if you're gonna go and fight a guy who's capable of beating you, like, and a bigger guy rather than a guy that fights at 135, why not go the biggest? AJ is an international superstar.
At the same time, Kamaru Usman credits Jake Paul for bringing significant attention and viewers to boxing, which helps counter the contract issues that often prevent deserving champions like Lamont Roach Jr. from getting big fights. Despite acknowledging that Paul will eventually be defeated, Usman maintains that nothing is impossible in the sport, even in his fight with Anthony Joshua.
I feel like the boxing world has been waiting for see somebody put Jake down.
It's gonna happen.
even though Jake, let's be honest here, we have to give credit where credit is due. Jake has definitely brought a lot of eyes to boxing.
For sure.
To where, for years, boxing was going through a situation like you're going through right now, where you're supposed to be fighting this guy, which is considered the best and the biggest matchup in the division. But unfortunately, contractually, guys do this rigmarole and they don't fight. And it leaves champions like you on the outside to where you aren't getting those fights. And so Jake Paul has actually brought eyes to the sport of boxing and really elevated it.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you mentioned, it might not be the most evenly matched or competitive, but now he's going up against Anthony Joshua. And this is my take on it.
Even so, Usman warns Anthony Joshua, AJ, against taking the fight lightly, reminding him that historical boxing upsets happen when great champions, such as Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis, are defeated by lesser opponents after underestimating them and failing to prepare seriously. Usman points out that this lack of seriousness is the only scenario in which Jake Paul could possibly win.
Is nothing.
Impossible is nothing. I agree.
You're absolutely right. I obviously, with the pedigree, with what Anthony Joshua has done, and who he is, you expect that. But it ain't the first time we've seen boxers not take someone seriously and then go out there and get embarrassed. We look at all the great champions, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, all these guys have made that mistake of, oh, I'm fighting Hasim Rahman. I'm trained for a month. I don't really care that much. And see what happened. I'm fighting Buster Douglas. I'm not going to trade that much. And we see what happens. So do you think that's a potential chance of what could happen in this fight?
Hasim Rahman obliterates Jake Paul.
Additionally, Michael Buffer strongly advises Jake to prioritize his defense, suggesting it must be a core part of his strategy, perhaps involving a calculated risk. Michael said, work on the defense. That's good. He's going to be playing chicken. That'll have to be part of his big strategy. He's really worked on his footwork and his hand speed and everything. And you know, he's about 6 feet 2 inches or something like that. He's not a small guy and is obviously a great athlete. And it's a big step up, but it's a step he wants to take. Moreover, Eddie Hearn emphasizes the major business opportunity and low competitive risk presented by the upcoming fight between Anthony Joshua, AJ, and Jake Paul. He was shocked when the contract was signed, calling Jake Paul crazy for taking the fight and predicting that he has no chance. For AJ, the fight offers massive money, 40 times more than a typical bout.
Yeah, I mean, I had to deal with obviously knowing that it might happen. And then the contract coming through, signed by Jake Paul, and I sort of looked at it, I was like, oh my God, he's done it. So yeah, look, I have to give him credit. I do think he's crazy. I think he's got absolutely no chance. I think he's going to get smashed to pieces.
Do you think Jake's crazy?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, listen, for us, we received an offer that was massive money and a really easy fight. We were talking about fighting this week here in an 8-round fight. Now we're fighting in an 8-round fight for 40 times more money against Jake Paul. So I love the opportunity for AJ on so many levels. I think it's a straightforward fight, massive profile, you know, and especially in the US. So we can go back into 2026 all guns blazing with Turk El-Sheikh and the plans to hopefully fight Tyson Fury.
Continuing on, Eddie explains how the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight was successfully arranged despite existing contracts. Hearn mentioned that DAZN often lets his fighters take huge chances in deals that are too good to be true, like this one. He explained that even though they had to make a new money agreement, the fight was finalized easily because the amount of money involved was so large.
On Netflix.
Obviously you have to do a deal and probably there was more money for AJ than there was for Ryan Garcia, I don't know. But DAZN have always been very good to us in the sense of not scuppering opportunities for fighters that are ultimately too good to be true. And that was this opportunity. They did it with Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano as well. Like, it was a massive payday for Katie, and you know, this was a bit different. There was a commercial agreement that we had to come to with DAZN, but they were very good to us, and yeah, it's one of the reasons I'm here this week. I mean, I'm exclusive to DAZN, so is AJ, and it's the presser today. I've never missed an Anthony Joshua presser. Frank Smith's there with him. But I wanted to be here on the platform this week with Turk El-Sheikh promoting this amazing show. So, yeah, it wasn't easy, but when there's a lot of money in the pot, generally it can get worked out.
On top of that, Eddie insists the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight is extremely dangerous, stating that despite Paul's improvements to a decent cruiserweight, the fight will end as soon as AJ hits him on the chin. He then notes Paul's ability to manifest this life and create massive paydays, citing top fighters like Terrence Crawford who can earn life-changing money.
For Jake.
I mean, you could say it's a no-lose for Jake, but it's too dangerous to be a no-lose.
Yeah.
Like, this is very real. And, you know, once you get hit by AJ, you'll know all about it. As soon as AJ hits him on the chin, the fight's over. So when that comes, we don't know. But, you know, Jake's improved a hell of a lot. He's done a lot of camps. He's fought boxers. Like, he's now become, I used to call him average, but he's become a decent cruiserweight. Decent cruiserweight, right? Not, for me, not world class. But, you know, a decent fighter.
But he's been able to sort of manifest this life that none of us ever saw coming. I mean, the fact that Terrence Crawford apparently even accepted the fight. We're talking about Anthony Joshua, Terrence Crawford, Gervonta Davis.
To make this kind of money, Michelle, if you're Terrence Crawford, to make this kind of money, he probably could have made more money to fight Jake Paul than Canelo.
Also, Eddie defends the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight as a massive financial opportunity that offers 40 or 50 times more money for an easier opponent. He dismisses critics who claim the fight will hurt AJ's legacy, emphatically stating that AJ will not lose, and attributes Jake Paul's confidence to a necessary, if unrealistic, self-belief.
Fight, right? Well, it is an easier fight. For probably 40 or 50 times more than he would have got for an 8-rounder here. So how, like, let's just think about it. Some people's like, yeah, but won't it affect his legacy? No. Like, all right, if he gets
I hate when people say that.
If he gets beat by Jake Paul, of course, people are going to remember AJ getting beat by Jake Paul. It just ain't happening. It ain't happening in a million years. So, we'll see.
You placing a bet?
No, I don't need to place a bet. But the odds aren't as wide as I thought they would be, which is crazy. Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So, but listen. You know, Jake's a young man. One of the things that Jake has to his advantage is he's deluded. But I'm deluded. Like, so, but you need to be deluded to, like, have these dreams and, like you said, manifestation of, like, he genuinely believes he can beat.
Moving forward, Teddy Atlas gives the possibility of Jake Paul defeating Anthony Joshua, AJ, and the dramatic implications of such an upset. Atlas believes the fight is interesting due to the crazy and unusual nature of the matchup. He emphasizes that if Jake Paul wins, it would completely defy all logic and accepted norms, not just in boxing, but in sports generally.
I think there's an interest just because of how unusual and how crazy it would be. The person I'm going to mention would not only win, but how it would just throw off all the things that are logical in the sport, in any sport, in anything in life, but logical in the sport of boxing. How crazy this would be to think if Jake Paul could pull off the win against Joshua. That's the subject of the week. Again, I set it up that way because a lot of people would say, Teddy, that's not serious boxing, that's an event. Tyson Paul, I get it. All that stuff, and I don't dismiss that. But it's here. It's here. Here it is.
Furthermore, Atlas defends Jake Paul's contribution to boxing and contrasts his position with Anthony Joshua's credentials. He acknowledges that Anthony Joshua, AJ, has clear superior advantages, Olympic and championship credentials and size, and should destroy Paul, but warns that styles are key and Paul fights differently than AJ's previous opponents.
For what he's done, and he's brought with that attention to the sport in a way that some people, the purists, will say they didn't want it, that other fighters are getting paydays they deserve taken away because Paul's taking up that space. No, it's a choice of where people want to go to watch. It's still their choice. Before we look at all the reasons why Joshua should smash him, he's a pro fighter, 2-time Olympian, 2-time heavyweight champ, bigger, stronger, highest level of fighting at this weight class. I mean, he should destroy him like he destroyed Ngannou. And a lot of people will use that comparison. But styles make fights. And Jake Paul's not going to fight him or the way Ngannou fought him. That's number one. And
continuing this point, Atlas analyzes Jake Paul's strategic advantages and redefines victory in the fight against Anthony Joshua. Atlas highlights Paul's smart choices and questions AJ's current motivation and mindset, asking if he is still the fighter he once was. He suggests that a win for Paul doesn't need to be a knockout. Simply using movement and surprising AJ over the 8 rounds could be considered a victory in his terms.
Paul hasn't made too many mistakes. He's been pretty damn smart. I'm not saying he's the fighter that Joshua is, but I don't know if Joshua's the fighter that Joshua was. I don't know if his mind is right. And how do we define winning? Does he have, it's only 8 rounds, by the way. How about if he runs around, does a track meet, bop, bop, boop, 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 you know? He's got a pretty good right hand. Sneaks in a right hand once in a while with Joshua standing there maybe, you know, for a minute, second. He moves around, keeps Joshua off balance. And what if he does that? It's not going to be, you know, pretty, but it could get him to the finish line. And again, how do we define a win? Do we define it the same way as Jake Paul might define it?
Finally, Atlas argues that simply surviving and exceeding low expectations would count as a win for Paul. More significantly, Atlas suggests that the possibility of Anthony Joshua severely injuring Paul means that Netflix's legal team would not permit the fight to proceed if the danger were truly as high as some predict, implying the network ensures it is not a live film.
Say, wow, I didn't think he could even do that. Is that a loss or is that a win? And the final thing, the final part, Netflix, they have lawyers. They have lawyers, right? To put this on, it's a guy who's supposed to destroy the guy. Some people would say, oh, Joshua's gonna kill him. They can't have someone killed on their air on Netflix, can they? They can't have a live snuff film, right? Are they gonna jeopardize that? Are their lawyers going to let them jeopardize that if there is this margin, huge difference in the margin of ability, that it could be that dangerous? Remember when Tyson was fighting Paul, everybody said, I wonder if it's real or if it's staged or whatever. I wonder.
The Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight has drawn attention from all sides. With high stakes, contrasting styles, and expert warnings, this matchup is more than a fight. It's a true test that will leave a mark on boxing history.